Donald Trump finally resurfacing on what many are calling Disaster Saturday. And let me tell you, he does not look like a man in control. He looks frail, tired, and frankly unwell. Now, of course, the White House tried to spin it, saying he's never looked better, and that everything's fine. But take a close look at that photo yourself, because what I'm seeing tells a very different story. His face looks worn, his hand looks like he's hiding something, and those swollen ankles. That's not the picture of strength his team keeps trying to sell the public. And remember, this is after days of hiding. Trump hadn't made a public appearance since Wednesday, and when he finally did, the contrast couldn't be more striking. On the very same day, you've got Joe Biden at the beach with his granddaughters looking relaxed, healthy, and open about what he's dealing with. You've got Gavin Newsom posting a bright message to working Americans for Labor Day. Meanwhile, Trump looks like he's crumbling under the weight of his own lies. In fact, Newsom himself made the point crystal clear, putting a side-by-side photo of Trump next to him and calling Trump what he truly is: America's biggest loser. And it's not just about appearances. Trump isn't just looking weak, he's acting weak, especially in his pathetic behavior toward Vladimir Putin. He's treating Russia like we're the ones bending the knee, dragging the United States down from leader of the free world to little more than a Soviet satellite. No backbone, no leadership, and no defense of Ukraine. It's humiliating to watch, and it's a disaster for America's standing in the world. Before we dive into the full story, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. What we're watching unfold here is the full weight of Trump's disastrous policies crashing down on ordinary Americans. Farmers across the country are pulling back on spending. John Deere is laying off workers. Caterpillar is warning of future pain. And fertilizer costs are skyrocketing. Meanwhile, major trading partners like China are moving toward Brazil, while Australia and Canada are quietly avoiding American products altogether. These aren't just statistics. This is the collapse of rural communities, the unraveling of stability for families who depend on agriculture. And it's all happening because of Trump's reckless tariffs, which a court has already ruled illegal. But it's not just the economy that's taking a beating. Even the CDC, one of the most advanced scientific institutions in the world, is under attack. Not by fringe conspiracy theorists, but by Trump's own government. Imagine living in a country with world-class resources, only to see them undermined by leaders who reject vaccines, fight against renewable energy, and cling to coal like it's the 1950s. It's stupidity dressed up as policy, and Americans are paying the price. And while farmers, workers, and families suffer, what's Trump doing? He's blasting out cult-style emails at 6:51 in the morning, begging his supporters for money. "You were on my mind," he writes, before asking for donations in exchange for empty promises of rebate checks that will never arrive. It's manipulative, it's dishonest, and it reeks of desperation. He even peddles gimmicks like a so-called Trump Gold card for $47, the kind of cheap scam you'd expect from a late-night infomercial, not a former president. Meanwhile, the rest of the world isn't fooled. Leaders in India and Japan have been ignoring Trump's calls, publicly rejecting his lies about historic trade deals that don't exist. Even America's allies are starting to treat him like the fraud he is. And yet, while the international community distances itself, Trump's defenders on Fox News rush to spin the story, ignoring the failures, ignoring the court rulings, and pretending that everything is fine. But here's the truth. Nothing about this is fine. America's economy, credibility, and leadership are all being shredded, not by foreign enemies, but by Trump's own incompetence.
So we've been watching as Gavin Newsom tries to cosplay as Trump and tries to kind of come off as this tough guy. First of all, is he succeeding at being sort of a macho man? And do you think he's the future of the Democrat Party?
I definitely think he's angling for a 2028 run against the president, which is why he keeps trying to swing up at the president. But the fact is that Gavin Newsom compared to President Trump, there is no comparison because Gavin Newsom, as far as his policy goes, is a complete loser. But what I will also tell you is that as of right now, from the Democrat Party's platform, they are soul searching. I just think that, unfortunately for Gavin Newsom, according to his own party, he's too male and he's too white, which again puts him probably as someone who will struggle to get that nomination from his own party.
And honestly, this is where it feels less like politics and more like some bizarre horror movie. You look around, and it's as if half the country has been turned into zombies, blindly following a leader who's failed at everything he's ever touched. Think about it. Trump has bankrupted casinos, airlines, and even a so-called university. He's been hit with felony convictions, civil judgments, and still, his followers treat him like he's untouchable. The disconnect is unreal. And here's the strangest part. These people call themselves patriots, but they're willing to throw American credibility, the economy, and even democracy itself under the bus for a man who couldn't run a steakhouse without running it into the ground. That's not strength. That's blind loyalty. And when even Republicans like Anna Paulina Luna are reduced to nitpicking Gavin Newsom's social media style while ignoring Trump's endless scandals, it shows just how hollow their defense has become. They can't argue policy, they can't defend results, so they fall back on distractions. It's embarrassing, it's dangerous, and it shows how far into cult territory this whole movement has drifted. Because at the end of the day, if this is the guy they still choose to stand behind, a man who looks weak, sounds desperate, and governs like a con artist, then it says everything about where MAGA is right now.
His attempt to be all macho, do you think he's succeeding at that?
I think it's cringy. I think, if you're going to be genuine, you want to actually talk to people about how to make this country better, do that, run on that platform. But the fact is that he's trying to get too much into the clickbait social media influencer game. And as someone who knows that game quite well, and as someone who's now a politician, I will tell you that there's a certain time where you have to separate the two, and now's that time, Gavin.
And to wrap this up, let's talk about what might be the most jaw-dropping part of all this. Speaker Mike Johnson and the Epstein files. Instead of leading Congress with transparency, instead of ensuring that the truth comes out, he's moving to recess and bury the story. Victims are literally preparing to testify on Capitol Hill, demanding answers, demanding accountability, and yet MAGA leadership is doing everything possible to run interference. Now, Johnson's excuse? He claims the Department of Justice already turned everything over, 33,000 files, he says. But here's the problem. Those were old, recycled documents that had already been made public. What he's conveniently ignoring are the names, the connections, the powerful people that Americans deserve to see. And when pressed, he fumbles into excuses that sound less like leadership and more like cover-up. Think about this for a second. If there's nothing to hide, why block the release? Why dodge accountability? Why protect the same billionaire class of predators that ordinary people have been demanding justice against for years? The only logical conclusion is that MAGA leadership is terrified of what might come out. And let's be real. When you hear them trip over their words about no need for a vote, it doesn't sound like confidence. It sounds like fear. This is not just about Epstein. It's about a system that shields the powerful at the expense of the vulnerable. And every single time politicians like Mike Johnson do this, it erodes public trust even further.
Sarge petition from Thomas Massey in Ro Khanna, I hope I'm using the right word, will ripen soon?
Well, no, I guess it would if they get the right signature.
If they get the signature,
but it's now a moot point. It's not even necessary.
You don't think it's going to happen?
There may be a floor vote of one measure or another. We have our own resolutions to do all this, but it's sort of not necessary at the point because the administration is already doing this. They're turning it over.
So I don't think that Congressman Khanna and Massey think that yet, at least from what I've heard. And I don't know that the 218 people that they think they have as signatories of that think that either. If they do get the signatures, will you allow that to come to a vote on the floor?
We might not even wait for that. We have our own resolutions to affect this same thing. But the process is playing out as it should, and very soon the American people will have that information, and they should have had it all along. That's my view.
But you can't guarantee there'll be a vote on the discharge petition.
There probably will be a vote of some sense, but we've got to get everybody collected again and build consensus around that.
Listen.
And there you have it, folks. Another moment that lays bare just how deep the corruption and double standards run in MAGA politics. Whether it's covering up the truth, spinning excuses, or shielding the powerful from accountability, it all points to the same ugly reality. They're protecting themselves, not the people they claim to serve. But what do you think? Do you believe these files will ever see the light of day? Or is this just another chapter in the endless cycle of political cover-ups? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I really want to hear your perspective. Stay sharp, stay informed.